Party's here. We got a preview show for the Lions coming into Lambeau. But most importantly, maybe, I've had a lot of audio and visual problems, and we're recently in particular trying to solve it with the iPods, trying to solve it with the old mic. The old mic got shipped over here, got broke. Trying to solve it with the new camera, has a microphone on it today. Working on the problem. You can find me at Mike168 on Twitter, Process to Perform on Instagram. Guys, check out the show on our YouTube channel. We're going to do a lot of film analysis, as always, the Process to Perform channel on YouTube. And the show is always sponsored by BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything sports betting, every stat, matchup, breakdown, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. With the largest catalog of odds from everything from football to Major League Baseball playoffs, NHL, NBA to political props. When the game is over, head over to an online casino and get into a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get a reaction with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, where the game starts. And very, very rarely do we start off with the fact that the Packers are not favored at home. Doesn't happen very often, but 6-1 Lions in the Lambeau Field, 3.5-point favorites. Probably the best team in the NFC right now. Certainly in the NFC North, probably the best team if you think about it overall in the entire National Football Conference. The Lions remind me a little bit of the old Peyton Manning teams for the Colts. Not that Jared Goff was Peyton Manning always playing very well, but the Colts used to be number one in offense and number one in defense, and they were essentially number one in defense because they were number one in offense. In other words, they had a good defense. Bob Sanders was amazing, obviously, back at the safety position, the guy that kind of stands out the most for me. Dwight Freeney, of course. But they were really good because they were always up. And so you could run the football. You just have time to do anything. They were always pass rushing. They always knew you were going to throw the ball. You basically cut off an arm and a leg and try to play offense again. It was really difficult. This is a really talented team coming into Lambeau Field. The Lions have earned the right to have a lot of talent. They were bad for a long, long time. Matt Millen, if anybody didn't know who Matt Millen is, Matt Millen was the guy in the 2000s who was general manager for the Lions and maybe set them back 20, 30 years as far as salary cap and kind of disaster first-round draft picks. I miss him right now because Campbell and the boys are doing pretty well up there. They got a lot of talent, man. Offensive side of the football, they ranked first in points overall, the 33.4 points per game, 6 and over yards, overall yards, 385. Jared Goff has somehow managed to go from kind of this castaway with Sean McVay and the Rams. They go on to win with Stafford. And so he's kind of the forgotten soldier in this transaction. And now he's up for MVP of the league. I mean, he's had in what it looks like. He took the Rams to the Super Bowl. And I mean, for all indications right now, this is the best team in the NFC. This is the team that's probably favored to go to the Super Bowl right now. This is possibly the most entertaining team to watch offensively in the National Football League. The Lions are led. For me, everything starts up front. The Lions led by Frank Wright. Right now, he's an all-pro center. Penei Sewell has gone from, obviously, his first-round prospect out of Oregon. And he is a guy, he's an all-pro. He just got a huge contract. I think he is the highest-paid tackle in the league right now, well-deserved. And he is a guy that got, a draft pick who was going to be good anyways, but got to the right program, got with the right coach, Hank Fraley, got with the right offensive system, and these guys absolutely maul people. And they've got skill position guys as far as the eye can see. They've got Sam Laporta. They've got Amon St. Brown. They've got Reynolds. They've got David Montgomery in the backfield. They've got Jahmyr Gibbs when they don't want David Montgomery to combine. Those two are averaging 5.1 yards a game. And they're 6th overall in rushing yardage, 156.7 yards per game. And all of this talent is being brought together. A lot of first-round draft picks right there, second-round draft picks by Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson is a guy I knew in Miami, absolute wizard. He looks like these guys look like they're having the most fun in the National Football League. They have any play can be a trick play. Every single play that they run has home run potential. They run a ton of different formations. They have a ton of different wrinkles and nuances. The splits of the offensive linemen, whether the backside tight end is running split flow, is he running the belly? Is he running the belly that turns into a touchdown in the flat? They've got so many ways to attack. Every play is a base play, a trick play, a run action, a play action, and then some kind of clown show where they might pitch the ball to one of the tackles. So they've got so much stuff going on. As a defender, as you watch this tape, I sit here and go, as a guy who likes the defensive game plan, go, I don't know how you would account for everything that's going on here, but don't worry, we came up with some ideas, and we're going to hit them right now. Number one, first and foremost, Arden Key kind of showed this against the Lions last week. And listen, this team is not without their flaws. Certainly, they've got some guys up front that are really good players. Their left tackle has been with them for years. Had a rough day against Arden Key. Arden Key's a good player, but this is kind of what you do. You're an under center. They're going to go play action pass. You see the tackle take that flat stance pass set and just go, man. Just go early in the game, get the sack. Jared Goff doesn't do as well with players coming from his left as he does from his right, both in movement and getting rid of the football. Now we got under center again. And here's the big deal with this team. They've got so much talent. When you get a chance to hit a guy, you cannot miss. So they're just going, this is a very simple formation. They're going bunch right. They got the split out by Reynolds down on the bottom of the screen. And they're just going to go zone left. They get the little lead by, I think that's Aaron Ross St. Brown. I love how they've run the motion. First of all, the way these guys block, they're going to dig out all the safeties that we bring in the box. Hopefully, Evan Williams is healthy again, if it's not Javon Bullard. But they, as fast as our guys move, these guys move just as fast. On the backside here, their tight ends do a lot of blocking. They're expected to do a lot. Now, if you've got a play right here, you got to make that play. David Montgomery runs right through that tackle. Goes for a touchdown. I want to show the end zone copy because this is what they really do on the backside. They live and die on these backside blocks. So this is a double team, but Penei Sewell takes Justin Simmons, who's one of the best football players in the National Football League, and drives him 7 yards back into the end zone, and then lets him know about it the entire time. Jared Goff again. If you want to get to him, take the backside route because he is not as good with guys coming from his left. It's not only that he doesn't see them. It's not only that he's not a running quarterback, but he just doesn't move out of the way very well. And if you can get him off his first read and you can really create pressure, not create free runners, but create pressure by pushing, collapsing that pocket, pushing the pocket back into him, you really have a chance to get him disrupted. They do a great job of disguising. They're going to come off the slot, but they don't have that safety covering them up. You see the safeties on the inside between the hashes. Slot guys really lined up on the outside of the receiver right now. So doing a good job of not showing this. Ends up coming late. They have it picked up, but because we just go straight bull rush through that running back, Jared Goff's not one of those players you want as an offensive coordinator. You want him to kind of do that spin, release outside to his right or his left, excuse me. Ends up being a problem. We see it from a different look. And this is really, if you're going to go through anybody, try to go through Jahmyr Gibbs. He's just not, as big necessarily. If you can keep him in, that means obviously he can't catch the ball in pass pro as well. Here's the problem. Oh, I got one more. So we get beat up. So the thing with Jared Goff is the passing options are number 1, number 2, and number 3. So we beat the old Baltimore Ravens left guard here. Arden Key comes in late and ends up making a play. For another sack and a sack fumble. They started this game talking about the Tennessee Titans and really gave these guys all they could handle. If it wasn't for the amount, we had turnovers obviously by the quarterback for the Tennessee Titans, and then they had this amazing special teams day. This is a pretty well-fought game, at least early on, between the Titans and the Lions, which you wouldn't necessarily think. Here's the problem. We got a 6-man box, and you can just see that the B gap on the play side's open. Now, whether they're going to try to shift these guys over, because right now they're out leveraged if they run Gibbs to the left, their left or right, or if they're trying to bring a safety down. If this safety thinks he's fast enough to react to that dude in the backfield, you're not. This is one of the fast. This reminds me of Chris Johnson. He's Chris Johnson fast. I mean, this is 9 time. That safety just has no chance getting downhill. Just a different level of speed. And that's really what you're dealing with. Now, talking about Ben Johnson being just a great scheme guy, what are we talking about? So they go 2-by-2, two tight ends hipped off. Obviously, the tight end on the left, as we were looking at it, is a little bit deeper, meaning he's going to go in motion. Is it split flow, or are they running what everybody else is running right now, which is kind of that belly look, right? That belly look where he gets a little bit of depth and he kind of leans into this, turns into a fullback. So that's what everybody thinks. Great disguise. Ends up wide ass open for an easy touchdown. And that's when I say they're having fun. That base look, you can run the keeper, you can run this play, you can run the lead, you can run the belly, you can run the split flow. And they have, if you're a defender, you have no idea what to look for. So they motion over, and they don't block this right. So we have Amon-Ra St. Brown in the inside here. They got a trips look, and someone probably has to block the slot defender. The safeties they get their wires crossed. The slot defender takes off. Nobody blocks them, but they have such speed in the backfield on the toss. It doesn't even matter. Amon-Ra St. Brown picks up the backside safety because those guys decide to rock and roll, even though they're going to the trip side. A little bit of a head scratcher, quite frankly. And they're out for another chunk play. Now we bring Sam Laporta, we talk about Tucker Kraft being a really good tight end, and he is. This guy's been doing it for this second year now. He might be better this year than he was last. What I love about this guy, what I love about Tucker Kraft, same thing. Not only in the passing game, they do a great run after catch, but really, really tough in the blocking game. I thought coming out, he had the best technique of any tight end in the draft. So they go motion. And look at what does this look like? This looks like toss crack, right? We got down. We got Panay Sewell running around. We got a lead blocker in Laporta. And you see all these guys, because there's so many options of what they can run. This looks like toss crack, and they just turn this into a running back touchdown pass to the tight end. They're just doing things at a different level. Now, how do you defeat these guys? Inside in particular, not with right now necessarily, but both of these guards, if you're going to get pressure anywhere, you think about your defensive tackles. Can we win the backside one-on-one blocks, particularly out of the 2-wide? Do we want to keep them in a shade or a 2-wide? Maybe this game you keep them in a 2-wide. You want to keep them away, particularly from Panay Sewell. But if you can win on that inside block against the right guard or the left guard, seems like you might have some opportunities. Justin Simmons is, of course, such a good player. Maybe we don't have necessarily that caliber guy. But the best chance really is, can we pressure? Can we get around his legs? Can we stop him from running or from shuffling to his right? You see the pressure again on the left guard now coming from Justin Simmons. Really presses the pocket, gets down low, ends up with another sack fumble. Arden Key's part of this. I think we recover this, but big play, big opportunity. And that's what's happening when you look at the Lions is, if you don't take advantage of every one of the opportunities to make a tackle at the line of scrimmage, make a tackle behind the line of scrimmage, get a sack on Jared Goff, get a hit on Jared Goff, pressure equals picks, all those thoughts, it's really difficult because they are literally one handoff away from Jahmyr Gibbs going for 80. Amon-Ra St. Brown getting the chunk play for 35 yards. Reynolds, for God's sakes, the punt returner had 2 touchdowns, I think, last week. These guys are just built to pick up plays in bunches. They're extremely talented. They can do it in the running game. They can do it in the passing game. They can wear you out. It's like trying to figure out what that thing looks like. And the only answer you keep coming up with is, can you run Jared Goff? Now, defensively, the Lions are 8th overall on paper, putting up 19 points per game. Okay, they lost Aiden Hutchinson. He was, I think, effectively for me, he was their true pass rush presence. When you watch him play, he was playing at a different level until he got hurt than most of the different guys in the league. You think about a handful of defensive ends who are playing at his level. Seriously, you talk about Myles Garrett, Max Crosby. There's some guys, there's just not a lot of them. They want to stop the run. Danny Campbell he's just this kind of guy who's tight end, but he might as well be a defensive player. He wants to stop the run first. He wants to take that away. They've got Jack Campbell and Anzalone. When they're playing downhill with the intentions of let's stop the run. That means the action pass works. That means that there's a ton of space between the linebackers and the safeties. They are not afraid to run man on the back, so you can get those longer developing plays if you go under center play action. There's some things that work against these guys. They will give up chunk plays. They give up chunk plays. They'll show it on tape to the Tennessee Titans. But again, if you're averaging 33 points a game on offense, and let's just say you miss, one or two series, you can be down 14 points. All of a sudden, the game might start to look different, especially if you're in the third quarter. So the key here is good drives, chunk plays, long drives, get some consistency. We can't have a lot of 3-and-outs because they are 5th in the league at yards per game. So Josh Jacobs is looking at down the barrel of it. This team's only getting up 102 yards per game, but they're 22nd in the league, giving up 4.7 yards per carry. What does that mean? That means that they're really not that good in the run game. People just can't run the ball on them because they got to put the ball in the air to score so many points. Now, I do think that Aleem McNeil just got paid by, I think it's the 3rd year, 4th year. So he got paid early by the Lions because he's a really disruptive defensive tackle, really good player. I'll show a little bit on tape. DJ Reader, they brought in from Cincinnati Bengals. He's an offseason upgrade, number 98, number 1 in your hearts. You'll see him. I just don't think the Packers up front should really have problems on the edges. I just don't think there's got. Now, the matchup for me in this game, particularly in the run game, is the Titans against the defensive of the Detroit Lions. The Titans are asked to do a lot here, but they have to be able to hold up. I think they can. And then when you think about their linebackers, and they're going to use 3 or 4 guys. A lot of them will line up on the line of scrimmage. They just lost Malcolm Rodriguez to an injury, but they have 3 or 4 guys that they'll end up playing. When they're on the line of scrimmage, can we hold the point at the tight end position, whether we need to double team or we have to single block at the point of attack? That's going to be one of the keys to the game because they're going to try at some point to put 5 guys on the line of scrimmage, make you single up, and that one guy who might not have help is going to be your Tucker Kraft. If it's Tucker, can you hold up long enough? It showed a couple times in Tennessee in the game that they could. When they did, they get yards. When they can't, it really gets shut down. The back end of this team, again, they're not afraid to stop the run. So you get that play action going. These linebackers bite. We're going to see a bunch of crossers that are wide open. You're going to see some man coverage. They got beat early by the Titans just on some go routes. They've got those 2 guys from Alabama. You got Brian Branch. You got the rookie, last year's rookie Brian Branch. This year's rookie Terry Arnold. Arnold's got some holding calls. Arnold's got maybe some young player issues. Maybe they got to put the mittens on him in practice. But these guys are extremely talented, extremely confident. They play hard. The DC was a longtime player in this league. They are not afraid to go out and play man-to-man. You have to be able to take advantage. It'll be a really interesting matchup, really on both sides of the ball. But I'm looking forward to the Packers offense trying to take on these guys because I think we have, from a talent standpoint, really good opportunity here. But boy, these guys play hard. Now, what am I talking about? They go in motion. They're looking man-to-man here. They just go rock roll. They go a little bit of a late rotation to the backside safety here. And so we hit them on the go route early, we being the Tennessee Titans. But you see the safeties coming from really the opposite hats. Really, it was closer to the opposite numbers. And they rotate late here for some reason. You see this a lot on tape. Their safety rotation isn't necessarily on time. This guy's wide-ass open. They're lucky to have a touchdown-saving tackle. We go trips up top. You see all the space. I can barely show you here in the corner. But in the upper left corner is where the safety is. He's playing over the trip side. They're literally just going to man this guy up. They have a shutdown corner on the bottom of the numbers. And this is really, this is a lot to ask of anybody. You're playing press man. And they end up going up and making a couple plays early in this game that kept it close. When I say kept it close, by the way, when I say kept it close, do I have this right? The Lions had 42 points at halftime. The game is it's another one of those things you turn on 42 points at halftime. That doesn't make any sense. Maybe it was 32. I think it was 42. I didn't even watch the second half because, how many highlights do you need, actually? It's unbelievable. All right, so we got 2 tight ends in the game. We're looking up top here on their left, all right. You see the 5 on the line. They bring in the play action kills these guys. And not only from a biting standpoint, but just from a communication standpoint. They don't do a very good job of communicating this. We got 2 guys going on the deep route. I don't know what the corner's doing out here. Nobody on the crosser. Doesn't get easier than that. I don't care who's playing quarterback. We're completing that pass. We got trips up top. Now, this is interesting to me, and the Lions do this from time to time. It doesn't really make sense. They're going to play a single high, man coverage, but they don't bring pressure. And look, it's not unheard of, but you don't have really good pass rushers, except for McNeil. We really don't have great pass rushers on this team now that Hutchinson's gone, and they don't bring anybody to disrupt. And so you really kind of have all day to get these throws in. Again, they hit another slot fade. And you're putting the safety in a really difficult position. Hey, I'm all for it, don't get me wrong, but just fundamentally it doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, there's two guys wide open on this one. So we got the shotgun with the double pull. You're going to see the linebackers bite, and then we got a high and a low on the crossers here. Look at the bite. Now he throws it to the low, but look at the high on the 45-yard line across the middle of the field and hash. I mean, there's some guys wide open, and it happened all day. They really want to stop that run game. You really have an opportunity. Even when the game, you kind of go, listen, when you're in your playbook, your play sheet starts shrinking when you get down by 21 points. But sometimes they don't pick it up. Key matchup, backside tight end. Can we hold the point? On the backside, that's a great job. Gets through. If you can do that, you got a chance. You got two tight ends here. And you see, again, this is shotgun play action. You usually don't see guys bite like this, even out of the pistol, as he does now. And look at the space left behind. I just wanted to give you the end zone copy here because, I mean, these are really, really, for an NFL quarterback, really easy throws when there's no traffic in front. Aleem McNeil, he just got paid for a reason. Really like how he plays. And he plays square to line of scrimmage. He does a good job of trying not to turn his shoulders. And because of that, he plays with that wide base. When guys try to run like those inside-outside zone plays where they're trying to turn a little bit, he does a good job of shutting that block back to the inside and just being disruptive on their side of the line of scrimmage. Another opportunity to win the edges with these three tight end looks. They don't really get the job done, particularly the guy on our right, their left. Kind of gets up. I think that's Jack Campbell, or no, that's 53. Kind of turns that kick play into something you don't really want. They want to be able to watch that guy down. It's going to be imperative for our guys to be able to watch that guy down, create distance, vertical separation on the line of scrimmage, and force that corner to make the play. This is the other thing. When you're in back there, I mean, you've got plenty of time to throw this football, right? You get back there, you play action, you understand it, you turn around, find your guy, make the throw. Don't sit back here and let some pressure come late and then try to throw the ball away. I mean, Tennessee, what are we doing with the quarterback room, man? You had to almost try to throw it to that guy. Self-inflicted wounds will kill you. First step wins. Lee McNeil, they got a rookie tackle playing against him, trying to cut off. Just lunges in. McNeil beats him to the inside, ends up making another tackle for loss. Really good football player. Have to be aware of him. He showed up last year, the first game against the Packers. I thought he played extremely well, kind of came on a spot. This is a palms up movement. This is what I'm talking about with self-inflicted wounds. You got two tight ends there. Once we call that mugged up on the tight end, meaning that he probably has man coverage. They decided to just bring Ancelotti here. Am I saying that right? Ancelotti? Anyways, hell of a good player. I'm bad at pronunciation. Fan out on the defensive end and just let him take the gap, and it's like taking candy from a baby. So there are opportunities abound, I think, to score points on these guys. The real question is, can you score over 33 points on these guys? Because that's what they're averaging. 33 points is going to get you the win. Can you do that? Is that possible? I think so, but I think holding these guys to about 24, 25 points is the best way to try to find opportunity. Getting 30 points plus in this league is tough against a good defense, man. All right, I got some listener questions. Let's get at them quick. It says, obviously, Eric Wilson has outplayed Quay Walker this season, obviously. Other than developing a young player with potential, what reason is there to give Walker the starting snaps moving forward? I think you make a great point, Eric Wilson. I think all three of those guys can make arguments that they've played. If Eric Wilson gets benched, he will go home and say, I deserve to be played. And I think everybody in Wisconsin knows it. I think everybody in that locker room knows it. Certainly everybody in the coaching staff knows it. Now, do you let the first rounder play? Probably. That's just how it goes. I made this point earlier on another show. If any of those three guys last week are going to concede snaps from Quay, which, listen, the Packers did such a good job, honestly, of grouping players at the linebacker position, which is the most improved room on the team by far, by personnel grouping. So what is the offense putting on the field? Who do we think is going to match up best for that? And let's put those guys on. So they use those four guys really well as and as high as the potential is with Adrian Cooper, and he played really well last week. He also makes rookie mistakes. He goes the wrong direction. He has some poor reads, et cetera, et cetera. He needs to play because he's too wildly talented. He plays at different speeds. Like watching Sonic the Hedgehog versus everybody else. He's just faster. He's a better athlete. He's got a nose for the football. We love everything about him. But if anybody was going to concede reps, it'd probably be him because just from a consistency standpoint, I think that you look at Isaiah McDuffie and Wilson, they are very, very consistent players. They're downhill players. They're in the mold of what I think Jeff Hafley wants for that defensive position. And they're really, really physical. So I don't think anyone needs to be on the field all the time necessarily. I can make the argument that Cooper should be the one on the field all the time. I can also make the argument that he's the one that should be ceding snaps to Quay Walker when Quay gets healthy. But yeah, I think you make a really good point here, and thanks for your question. If Eric Wilson is giving up starting position or snaps to Quay based on performance, it's just not based on performance. Mike, what do you make of Rashawn? So we go into kind of what do you think about Rashawn just in general here? I think last week early on, he had one of his best pass rushes. He didn't get a sack, but he got a pressure. It was in a third down play, maybe the first down play of the game. Rushes upfield, head pulls the guy with his inside arm, opens him up right at quarterback level so he can kind of take that step and try to get the sack right there. So collapse in the pocket in the way that we've been talking about. Trevor Lawrence does a good job of stepping up and gets flushed from the pocket. And he ends up, I think, getting 2-3 yards. It was a third down, and they end up, turning the ball over kicking the ball away. But that speed, that leverage, that 10-pole move, those are the things that are going to work with him. I think all the other stuff that we're talking about, and I talked about this on the show. Listen, sometimes as a philosophy, about 10 years ago, everybody started looking at the stats, and the stats say that obviously turnovers win football games. So how do we get turnovers? Well, we can peanut punch the ball when we tackle. Okay. Now, if we peanut punch the ball and we're the first guy, we're going to miss a ton of tackles. Well, some guys might go, well, the turnover is more important, so I'll miss the tackle and I'll take the turnover. And I logically can't wrap that around my brain. I can wrap around the second guy doing it, and we do teach tackling with our fists, so we punch tight to the body. But as trying to punch in doesn't really make sense to me. The same thing is we'll go and try to get the strip sack fumble from behind. We'll go over the top more often. We might lose 9 out of 10 times. The one time we win, if we get that fumble, it's all worth it. Well, I just don't think that's a 9 out of 10 or a 10% thing. I think it's less than that. And if you get your guys' stats up by collapsing the pocket, by creating pressure situations where the quarterback not only has to feel you, but feel the offensive lineman that you're trying to block, I think those situations lend to interceptions, fumbles, and sacks. All of those things help you win football games. So I just don't subscribe to that philosophy. I know as an offensive lineman, if guys are trying to run over the top, I welcome it. When we teach offensive line play, I'm teaching them to force those guys high because they're running themselves out of the play. Listen, if the quarterback holds the ball for 6 seconds, he's going to get sacked regardless. So we're just trying to base everything on the standard amount of time and depth and pocket awareness that a quarterback's going to have when we play. If they do anything different, they're going to have a problem. But I think philosophically, some teams are taught to do that. I think when they do that, it's a problem. I'm not sure what the Packers teach, but it seems that way a little bit. It says, Mike, it's near impossible for teams to run outside of so many holding penalties. Blacklegs just flails his arm and gets the flag. How is it taught to O-line and tight ends as to when to let the guy go? So really, I don't think this is true. Footwork wins. If you have footwork and that puts your hips in front of that guy's hips, you don't get the holding call. You get the holding call when your hands across the guy's body and he's beating you with his hips. And then you tug or anything. The easiest way to think about this is if my arm's extended across his chest and I'm holding where I need to let go and win with my inside hand. But the reality is my helmet, by design, should actually be leveraged or landmarked on the play side of that person's body. And if it's not, that's when I'm going to get the holding call. Okay, so I'm really losing with my feet, not with my hands. First of all, go Navy, beat Army. I think we can see talent all around this young Packers team. What's your biggest concern, and what would you like to be addressed if Green Bay is to make a deep playoff run? From a personnel standpoint, I don't think I'd love to see the right guard shore up and play at a high level. But I think sometimes you can lose points because of singular players that are an integral part of that group. I think talent-wise, you just look at the skill positions on offense. There's no lack of talent. Defensively, you'd love to find somebody who can win one-on-one pass rush consistently and early in the snap count. But I don't think that person's walking around on the street. I love what the linebacker room's done. I love how they've improved. They're such multiple better than what they were last year. The secondary is the heart and soul of this team right now. The young guys and bringing Xavier McKinney in, certainly Jared Alexander before that. That's the heartbeat of this team. You can see that I just feel like if you were in the locker room, you just feel like they run practice, they run media. I imagine that room being so much fun, just having a swagger about it, just having a confidence that kind of permeates through the entire room. Maybe a pass rushing 3 technique would be it. I just want to continue to see guys improve. If you see guys continuing to improve, and Quay Walker is really an example of this. When he is sit down, he'll talk about it last year. He's a really, really effective player. He has improved from last year. He is being better coached than last year. His block destruction is better than last year. His first step is right more often than it was last year. I just think these other guys are playing really, really well. It's not a knock on anybody. It's just these other guys. Eric Wilson's playing really well. McDuffie's playing really well. John Bullard last week missed a couple tackles. It doesn't mean he's not playing well. He's playing really, really well. I just don't know that if he was as prepared to play safety as he was playing the nickel position, because that's what he's been playing when Evan Williams was healthy. With a week of practice under his belt, I'm sure he'll go back to the way he looked in week 1. These guys are playing at a really, really high level. I just think you got to continue to strive to improve, which is a very difficult thing to do, I think, mentally more than anything else during the season. We look better up front in the zone game. Is this the O-line getting better? Is this just a good game from them? I shouldn't expect to improve linearly. You should never expect anybody to improve linearly, although it would be nice. I thought it's interesting. You thought that this was a good game. I would love to see. Here's what I thought. Early in the game, you saw movement from the double teams. I loved it. I think there was clinic tape movement sometimes from the double teams. I thought that you did not see a ton of just getting. We know we're not seeing anymore. 3 years ago, we saw Josh Myers whiff a lot. We don't see that anymore. We don't see guys whiff. I think that's a huge deal. You can get beat physically. You guys got beat physically last week. But they're not whiffing. We're not getting a lot of tackles for loss. We might not be getting a lot of yards at some point. And guys get blown up. Tight ends get blown up. Tackles get blown up. And it happens. It happens to everybody. But we don't get that. But, if you can keep the play positive, and part of this is Josh Jacobs. I think when you say they had a great game, I look at it and I go, man, Josh Jacobs had a great game. And he was getting an extra 4 yards after contact at minimum, right? It felt like every time he touched the ball. I know that's not true, it'd be facetious, but that's how it felt. And when he does that, that's how those efforts get you 125 yards rushing, 5 yards a carry. Those efforts plus Malik Willis coming in playing quarterback gets you 170 yards on the ground. When you watch the tape and you go, man, did we really get 170 yards on the ground? This is a confusing offense. I think it's sometimes for that reason. You get 300 yards on total, 170 on the ground. You have 30 points, and you go, was that the offensive game you thought you were going to see? Especially given the fact that, like I said, I think the Lions had 42 in the first half. The comparison model right now is just a little bit skewed. Leading in, why does this feel like we can run the ball better when Malik's at the center? Greater volume of runs, yes. Threat of the QB run. Well, threat of the QB run in the sense, not that Malik's a better runner than Jordan Love, but Jordan Love's a better quarterback than Malik. And so from a system standpoint, what are you going to use? Are you going to try to create any way you can with the guy who could throw the ball really well? He was 4 out of 5. And he was good the last time he started. But he also has his legs, and he's going to use them, especially when he gets flushed from the pocket. Or are you on your, 50-year quarterback who knows how when he gets flushed from the pocket, like maybe you throw that ball to Jaden Reed instead of having Jaden Reed block for you on the scramble last week, right? And you're just more apt to use the quarterback, the backup quarterback, I think, in that mode as the guy you pay 50 or 55 million or whatever it is a year to. I think that's just that just makes sense to me when I put my general manager hat on. So guys, give me a fun week. Lions by 3.5. Thanks to our sponsor, Bet Online. I mean, Michael68, working on all the audio visual. I'm not going to fix this. I appreciate you. Talk to you next time.